This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
The Muncatcz Elazar, in his Sefer Shiur Yisachar, brings a few times from his grandfather, from his Zayda, Rabbi Shlomo Spira of Muncatcz. Apparently his grandfather and his Sava wrote that his Ksavim, which they had completely intact, they were forbidden to publish. But even so, there are small pieces that the Muncatcz Elazar does quote in the Shiur Yisachar from his Zayda, Rabbi Shlomo Spira of Muncatcz, and he brings down in Mamorei Chodesh Tishrei Maimer Yom HaKadosh Ois Nun Aleph, what he writes L'chibas HaKodesh, a Lomdus that his Zayda gave before Kol Nidrei as a protection, as a limud zchus for Klal Yisrael. We know there's a famous principle, ruba v'chazaka ruba adif, which means when you have two halachic principles working against each other, you have the koach of roiv, a majority, and against that you have a koach of chazaka, the koach of presumption. There's a rule, ruba v'chazaka ruba adif, that roiv actually trumps a chazaka. Roiv is stronger than a chazaka. Well, that is somewhat problematic for Klal Yisrael, because on the one hand, we have a chazaka. We have a chazaka of tahara and kedusha from our forefathers. We're becheskas zechus. We have cheskas avaseinu, zechus avaseinu, which is a cheskas tahara, cheskas kedusha, and that is to our defense. The chazaka that Klal Yisrael has, me avaseinu. On the other hand, we have roiv avonos, ruba avonos. So in that case, the Muncatcz may say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ruba v'chazaka, Ruba adif. We have cheskas avasei, but that is weak compared to roiv avonos. And therefore, says Rabbi Shlomo Muncatcz, what our avoida is, what is the eitzah? We have to act behachna, we have to memayed ourselves, behachna, va'anava, shiflos, demais, regret our avonos. And if we regret our avonos and we act with humility, that is begeder miyot. Miyot. We're mamayid atzmai. So now, bolstering the chazaka is a miyot. Now we could utilize the principle of smoich miyuta l'chazaka. Now what do you do when you have smoich miyuta l'chazaka, when you could support the chazaka with a miyot versus a roiv? Now it's a safek. Safek nefashos lahakel. Once it's a safek, now that our lives are in jeopardy, this is not a minor situation. If it was dinei mamanos, so that's one thing. But now that it's dinei nefashos, safek nefashos lahakel, and therefore the great eitzah on the Yom Adin is to be memayed atzmeinu be'anivos, be'shiflos, be'hachna, be'demais, be'charata. By doing so, we could support and bolster the chazaka with a miyut. We could utilize the principle of smoich miyuta l'chazaka. And now that it's a safek, we say safek nefashos lahakel. This was the great hamlatza that the grandfather of the Muncatcz Elazar gave before Kol Nidrei in his Drasha to be Megan and to be Melamed Zchus on Klal Yisrael as an eitzah hayutza of how to overcome the midas hadin on this day, on the Yom HaKadosh.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.